Welcome back to the Billionaire Pod, the biggest pod, right? Now this episode is going to be massive. We got Caleb, which is a major figure in the real estate industry, right? Now he has done business internationally and he has done business locally, and he's doing some amazing things right now where they're building like massive stuff, right? And every builder or every real estate person, every real estate investor needs a hardware where they actually buy the items from, where they actually get stuff supplied, whether that be material like building material, concrete material, board, all of that. We got Mario. Mario is on the pod. Mario owns a hardware company, and you're able to actually learn so much about these two different but similar businesses, right? This is going to be a massive learning experience for those who want to actually get into construction or real estate. Whichever side of the business model you want to actually get in, you're able to learn how they're able to actually work together and how they're able to actually build individually as well, right? So Caleb is real estate, Mario is construction, hardware, and all of that. And this is going to be a massive pod. Also, remember, get the Give Me merch. Give me merch. Give me a Millie. Give me a Ferrari. Give me a Millie. Give me a G-Wagon, right? Y'all know the vibe. The vibe of these merch is that, what we're trying to do with this specific merch is that we're trying to donate a part of the proceeds to a charity of your choice, right? So be sure to comment the charities in the comment below so that we can actually know them and we can actually randomly select different charities and donate, a part of the proceeds to them to help them send kids back to school, help build a house for somebody that actually need that additional help, whether it be buying food for people as well, right? Because, each one help one, and that's what we're trying to do with the pod. We're trying to educate you guys, make you guys into better individuals, better business people, and we're also trying to help those who are in need with a part of the proceeds from the Give Me merch. This is Give Me a Millie. Go on the website, get it. Also, for those who want to actually learn or if actually make the money to fund these pods, right? Y'all can join the Learn and Earn, right? Join the Learn and Earn to learn my exact strategy. These are some student results that I'm showing you right now. We've got thousands of students in the Learn and Earn learning from me on a day-to-day basis. Click the link in my bio. Over a decade in the industry. Y'all know the vibe. Super blessed, super rich. Get the Learn and Earn. Get the Give Me merch. Watch the full pod. Caleb Real Estate. Mario. Hardware and construction. Super blessed, super rich. Full episode. Like, share, subscribe. Y'all know the vibe. Alright guys, so welcome back to the Billionaire Podcast. Today we're here with Caleb Jackson and Mario Robinson. So Khalil and I are here and we're gonna, learn from the men that are within the construction industry
and the real estate
industry, which is construction and real estate, right?
Yeah.
They go hand in hand, right? So, little backstory, Caleb just flew in just for us, flew into the island, doing massive stuff on the island. And he flew in, to do the pod to just tell us about his journey from start to where he's at right now and his future plans. Mario just came in as well, from up next side of the island, to tell us his story, his journey. He's a part of the Billionaire family as well. You did Forex as well too, Caleb.
I did.
Yeah, you did as well. We had convos too, But Mario is here as well and he's within the hardware, just your hardware retail, right? And he's going to tell us about his journey. And, Caleb might have some questions for him. Mario might have some questions for Caleb. Yeah, but for me, I know I have questions for the both of them still. So let's dive into it. So let's start off with Caleb. How did they get started within your industry?
Sure. So, seriously.
Yeah, you can get that. You can get that, man.
Cool.
You can bring it. Come. Caleb should get one of them.
I guess I'll just edit it out, right?
No, we're not editing nothing.
All right, cool.
That's yours, bro. I had to influence them to get some stuff.
Yeah.
Because Caleb saying, you might try and maintain the muscles.
No. No, but to answer the question, so I moved to Jamaica when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
I was born in Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah.
And living in Jamaica just completely changed my life.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of different when your friend's going to meet and all that kind of stuff when you're 15, and just how beautiful the island is. And I had a whole bunch of different like life-changing experiences.
Mhm.
So I, trained with Shelly Ann Fraser.
You trained her or you trained with her?
Trained with her. She used to pick me up every day for training in the morning. So
so you were into trucks?
Yeah, at the time. So I actually was aiming to run 400 meter for Hillel Academy. Ended up getting like 2 really bad injuries that kind of ended it for me.
Mhm.
And I was never a good student. So I kind of made up this. So I looked at the math CXC. I said, I'd rather get a U than an F. Because you can negotiate a U, that's ungraded, but you can't negotiate the F, right? And so and so when I was at Hillel and I was doing IGCSE, I said, okay, I'm probably not going to get to sixth form either.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, how can I figure out a way to catch up with my classmates, but I have to take an alternative path. So I realized that if I go to do my 12th grade year at a community college, I can transfer into university and completely get away from the SATs and all that kind of stuff. And so when I was leaving Jamaica to, go and pursue my academic career, whatever the case may be, I said, I'm not going to stop working until I find my path.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is when I was living, as soon as I got back home, is I would go and interview different CEOs.
Yeah. And
I would say, hey, I'm Caleb. I'm 17 years old. I don't know really what to do to become successful. But I just need to be pointed in the right direction. And I ended up landing an interview with Tim Dewson Construction Company.
Yeah.
And that was my first job building, $10 million, $20 million houses as an intern and really understanding how that entire process works. And so that's when I was really bitten with the bug. And then I had the nonprofit Operation Help the People.
OT.
That kicked off and went fully viral. And it went so viral that my friends from middle school actually caught on to it. And so when I'm now catching up on the phone with them, they're telling me on how they're in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying, okay, well, I want to get into real estate too. Let me just take the bus from Howard University to Baltimore, where you guys are at, and see what you guys are up to.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing my friends were all 18 years old at the time, but I'm seeing them own hundreds of houses and flipping hundreds of houses. And I knew that that would be really my only opportunity to learn real estate from the ownership perspective day one. So I just dropped out of school and went to go work with them.
Mm-hmm.
And to make a super long story short, because I know we have multiple stories to talk about today, I started off my real estate career doing something called wholesaling. So it differentiates wholesaling from traditional flipping properties is that you're flipping the contract alone. Mm-hmm. And so you're finding deals that are distressed, where there's a lot of value in them. And then you're now going to a developer or someone else and saying, hey, I found this opportunity, and selling it for a markup. And so my first deal, I only made $5,000, but by my third deal in my first year, I made $200,000.
Mm.
And so that's when I learned the power of being able to find great opportunities. I may not have money, I may not have insight, but I have energy, and I will, if I don't have anything else, I have at least willpower.
Yeah.
And so ended up doing 23 deals that really, got to expedite the process. And then I realized, well, at the end of the day, the wealth is in the ownership of real estate.
Yeah.
Right. If you're just trading these contracts at the end of the day, well, you're doing all this work just to own no real estate. You're doing the hardest part of the real estate process to own no real estate at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And, super fast forward now, we own 80 apartment units around Johns Hopkins University, scaling to 250. And then we also just bought 4 acres in San Portland, or we're under contract.
San Portland.
Yeah, in San. And so I'm really, really excited about a lot of the things we have going on.
All right. Mario, let's dive into it, because I have some questions already. Let's dive.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right. So I own and operate in a building supply.
Yeah.
Which is in Ocho, White River to be exact. How I started. So when I was in high school, I wanted to be an
architect.
Yeah. So bad. And I did all my CXCs for geared towards that.
Yeah.
Right. But my parents, they own businesses. So I said to myself, I think I should get a business background so I can, be their successor.
Yeah.
And I made a decision to go to UTech to study business.
Mm-hmm.
Went to UTech. after my second year. I was like, I'm not going back to school.
Bro, why everybody else drop out in second year?
No,
It's like-
I finished, you know.
You finished?
I finished, man. I finished.
Yeah,
But the passion,
Yeah.
Passion
I'm not
just
going,
starts to
I'm
die
not
out.
bashing, listen, stay in school. And I finished school, but I figured that the drive just wasn't there. Anyway, I finished because anything I start, I try to finish.
Yeah.
Finished. And in third year, it was a 4-year course. In third year, the start of fourth year, my father came to me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, all right, you have 1 more year left in the son. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
I said, Daddy, all I know, I don't want to work for nobody,
Yeah.
right? I wanted to be an entrepreneur for the longest. I've been working in the family business for since I was, for like a pocket money, since I was like 7. I used to stand up and couldn't reach a cash register. So cash.
Same construction business that
No, they operated a meat store. Yeah, that was one of them, and I used to just cash out, and I used to do like odd jobs, always trying to hustle, right, to get little money. So I told my father, Daddy, I just know that I don't want to work for anybody. So let me give you an answer soon. I think it was the following day. I went to him and I said, all right, Daddy, and we have a project, because he's a contractor. I said, I know we have a project that you're going to start soon. I think I can open up a little hardware, and you just buy the goods through me. At least I know, I'm sure.
Sure.
So I have one customer. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's all right. Anyway, we, he helped me start the hardware. And while we were getting the inventory in to supply that project, people started coming in and buying. And we say, I'm not really ready to open up yet, but we see where the market is. So we started to, buy, because we were trying to get in the heavy stuff, cement, lumber, sand and stone. But people kept coming, even though we tell them that we're not open yet, people kept coming for it.
Oh, so they kind of push you to do more.
Yeah, so we were going to do more, But my plan was just to,
take it slower.
Slower, right? And use the little profit and then just grow the thing. Anyway, long story short, we ended up opening up the business in 2013, the 28th of October 2013. So this year makes 10 years. Right. Since then, we have a division AML Electrical, which my wife.
Oh, so you're into electrical as well?
Yeah, man. I can get you anything you want.
Welcome to the Billionaire Pod, where we make deals happen live.
Right? Anything you want, from a pin to an anchor, and we're just growing, trying to branch out in different things.
Yeah, because what I realized with especially construction, was even me, like I do a little something, and then the cost.
We see you, man.
I spent $265,000 to complete 1,200 square foot place, which is times 2,400, right? Times 2, same size. Spent $265,000, and then majority of the cost was just the building material,
Yeah.
Just the building material, and then even like properties that I buy and I'm about to develop on, I see for example, the estimate that you do development as well. I said the estimate that I would get from somebody that is doing the designs or doing the putting together the budget and all of that, I would say like construction costs going over 100 mil, right? So I'd say construction costs going to over 100 mil. So my thing is, because even a while ago we were talking about, converting it to JMD for you, and then just making it more like the price more understandable. Yeah. My thing is like, how do you, because you're doing construction in Jamaica right now, so how do you, how would you rate the market? Not rate the market, but how would you describe the international market versus the local market in terms of construction, in terms of prices, in terms of getting the best bang for your buck?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, number one, in terms of like just your perspective, and I'll answer that in a second, of growing your business slowly up front, that is really, really mature, because a lot of people, especially when you're just as your first business, just out the jump, sometimes it's just so focused on the growth that to actually have that sustainable thought process is really awesome.
And just to add to that, I know you have a question to answer, but
Yeah.
I would implore anybody who wants to start small.
To start small?
Yeah, because in all honesty, if I had started AML Building Supplies at the size it is now, I don't think
you'd be able to
manage it so well. You have to grow.
So learn from your hits, basically.
Yeah, you have to grow with your business. So back to your question.
No, yeah. So and also what's really cool is that he's the supply, so he's paid first, and I'm the owner that's paid last. So we'll talk for sure. But in terms of rating the different markets, I think that there are certain advantages and disadvantages to operating in any environment. And so if you look at, for example, where I am in Baltimore, that market works for certain things. I'm really focused on apartment buildings there, for example. The thing is that construction costs are rising, but most specifically, labor costs are also rising, exponentially. So if you look in Jamaica, yes, you do have to import a lot of those materials, but the government, it's because we are in tourism. Yeah. They do have a lot of duty-free imports
for construction materials.
Okay. And they are making it relatively easy to ease the burden of cost into the country. And then another thing that's also really attractive about operating in Jamaica is also from a labor perspective, right? Because when you have to operate these hotels or villa resorts or boutique or whatever the case may be, that is a very labor intensive business. It's actually one of the largest employers nationally.
Yeah.
So the cost of doing that in Jamaica versus in DC, for example, are two completely different things.
You would say it's way cheaper in DC than it is in Jamaica?
No, from a salary perspective, it's definitely super more expensive. I mean, to build a regular run of the mill house in Baltimore, it's about $120, $170 a single square foot. To really build a great quality villa asset, they're also built here around the same square footage.
I think in Jamaica, a lot of people charge like 110 JMD, which is about 110 JMD is about $8 or
not dollars. Cents.
No, not dollars. Cents.
Cents. Yeah.
Cents, about 80 cents, 70 cents
per square foot.
Okay, so you're saying that 180 per square. That's a lot more.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is like for a lot of the high end product that we've been seeing that we're looking to emulate. So if I was to try to build those same exact assets back home, I'd be paying like $300, $400 a square foot versus $170.
So way less.
Yeah.
Okay. So is this why you actually decided to come to the Jamaican market?
That's one aspect of it. I mean, the thing is that it's about like product market fit, right? So I'm not. I think the tourism angle is the angle that's really appealing to me.
Okay.
But from apartments and that kind of stuff, I prefer to operate back home. So it's one of the reasons why for a labor-intensive business over the long term, we feel like the tourism sector of Jamaica is very, very attractive for a variety of reasons.
And that's the main thing that you'd be focused on, which is just tourism, like building villas, renting them out, or just planning to sell them.
Yeah, but I don't think we don't need anything that we do. I'm in the real estate business to own assets long term, and I also want to make sure I really put my heart and my soul into my craft. Yeah. And so when we're doing these designs of villas or whatever the case may be, we want to actually own and hold. So all the flipping stuff and all that kind of transactional stuff is really for back in Baltimore. But for here in Jamaica, we just want to build works of art and build world-class brands and eventually work our ways up to world-class resorts.
Okay. So Mario, how do you, for example, even in the 2020 pandemic was 2020, right? Even in 2020 pandemic, how did you handle the situation of importing material, or do you get your material locally? How do you manage also in terms of the prices? You know, like were a lot of people buying things or still doing construction at the time, or did things slow down? How did you manage all of that?
Well, thanks be to God. I think the construction industry during the pandemic held its own really well. Mark you, everything is a domino effect.
Yeah.
Because, there's a saying, now because the community is
Mhm.
under fire and your house is okay means that you're okay,
Yeah.
right? Because, everybody supports.
Everybody supports
But
everybody.
the construction sector held its own. I want to tell the people, actually, there's a particular story. I had this customer that started to build because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Man said, boy, him kids and his wife are driving him crazy because everybody was at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so it held its own. In terms of material,
Mhm.
I get most of my stuff locally.
Locally.
Yeah.
Also, is it that you buy from
The big suppliers.
the bigger suppliers
Yeah,
and then
Tankwell and
So,
Okay, okay.
people will manufacture it themselves. Because I think Tankwell, like, for example, blocks.
Tankwell imports heavily.
Yeah,
Tankwell imports, right? Yeah, they import heavily.
yeah.
You know, so you'd buy from those bigger suppliers and then just resell for a markup.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Okay.
So, all right, say, because you talking to this now, me in the future getting into like real estate and even your aspect of things, I'm thinking like, how hard would it be to, instead of buying certain materials from suppliers, to make it your own, like blocks, because the blocks have to be made somewhere.
Yeah.
So how hard or expensive would it be to make them yourselves, to cut cost and like supplying it?
For your personal project?
Or for your company. For like, if you were to make your own blocks and just push them out straight like that, instead of buying it and then pushing them out.
Well, I mean, blocks, since we're on the topic of blocks, you have your block machine and you get your raw material and you make your blocks. They have to be passed by Bureau standards, right? So it's not extremely difficult. It can be done, right? But right now for blocks, I'm comfortable with my blocks. I have various block suppliers, right? And once they are approved by Bureau standard, and I know that when I push out,
I see what I do. It means like that's very smart, you know. He's like the middleman, so everybody know him as the man to go to.
Yes.
To buy whatever he want to buy, and he gets them at a lower cost from the suppliers and puts a markup on it and then resells.
And I'm going to go to every supplier and get the best quality at the best price.
Okay.
Right? So it eventually comes down to my customers.
Okay. On the same topic of blocks, in terms of construction, because you do very large scale projects, right? So I realize with large scale projects, let me not say that they do, because I don't know if they do, but I realize like sometimes you'd go on certain bigger properties, you would see them with like these big iron stuff, and they're just pouring the material in it. You know, so like is it that you use block for your type of developments, or is it that you how do you streamline like those bigger projects in terms of like getting the best value out of it, you know, and also in terms of just as how he's able to actually get the best prices from like different suppliers, you know, how do you go about getting the best prices for your project so that you can actually maximize your profit margin as well and also still get an amazing quality?
Yeah.
Also.
So, you know, I'm on the aspect of like asset management, right? So if you're the supplier, by definition, I'm the asset manager by definition. And so really what I focus on is structuring great teams that then go ahead and bring these projects to life. So the thing is that because we have these different portfolios and we're building the size and scale, we can now go to someone like yourself and say, hey, we are looking to do X amount of projects over this amount of time. This is our track record. This is what we are currently working on. And so can we get a 10, 20, 30% discount, but then do the entire volume and capture all of our business? So then that way, you know, at the project level, we're able to give to our investors a lot of those discounts, but then you're still able to make money at scale because we have a ton of projects.
You're doing numbers now instead of just a regular man like for example. Yeah, like me.
No.
You know,
but that's for that's not right. I understand this. Everything's a deal to be negotiated,
yeah,
right? But even when it comes to not even just our supplies, but even like property management, some people will say like, well, we don't take someone unless they have a certain amount of units under management, right? And so when we had nothing and we were building our portfolio, we said, hey, we're gonna go and buy 250 units instead of charging us 10%, can you charge us 5% on project management? And they did that, and now they have 80 units of our management.
Yeah. Oh, so you have other people that actually manage the properties for you as well.
Yeah, for the stuff in Johns Hopkins and everything like that. We do the construction management. We're the asset manager where we're on everyone's case, and we really watch all of our projects like hawks. But we have our construction manager on the ground. We have a property manager. For the various stages. And then I'm the one who finds the deals, raises the equity, syndicates the opportunity, and then implements the business plan.
Okay.
Then we raise the money.
Okay. So that's how you manage so in terms of like, okay, so that's how you're basically saying, if you're supposed to break it down into like two or three steps in terms of how you manage the cost of construction and how you actually find the right suppliers to work with, how would you break that down?
So all of our suppliers and contractors, we have an open book policy.
Open book policy meaning
that they have to actually show us at line item by line item where they're sourcing their materials from and how much it costs. So if you're telling me that a toilet is X and you're charging me X for it, and then I go online and see that I can buy it less, I'm gonna be like, buy this toilet instead of that.
Yeah.
So that way we have cost management, but then they also have relationships nationally that we may not have that we now get to leverage.
So leverage through them, basically.
Exactly. So with all of our vendors and contractors, we have an open book policy. So we're in the books of our management company. We're in the books of our contractors on the ground. We're in the books of everybody. And then that's that full transparency. And then we even pre-negotiate what their markup is.
Yeah.
So we may just say, well, it's cost plus 10%, for example.
So you basically tell them how much to charge you.
Yeah.
You're basically demanding it.
Or they just see, the value of the partnership long term, and we just create a win-win, scenario for us.
Yeah. The thing is, the Jamaican market, I'm not big into construction. I might buy a couple of properties, have a couple of investment or money invested, but in terms of like the behind the scene work of it, I'm trying to really understand, like, from your perspective and Mario's perspective, like, what is it like in terms of running a construction company, like, or a property management company, asset management company, so what is it like if you're supposed to break it down? How would you break that down?
So as the asset manager / owner, or is really called the general partner is the person who is legally responsible for the implementation of the business plan. So all my investors are limited partners. So what that means is that they're investing cash with me, and they're going to be owners of the property, but they are not responsible for the debt. They are not responsible for the operations. And then their returns are predetermined and how that's going to be broken up, whatever the case may be. So,
I think I know the term for that, but I'm not sure. S Hotel in Montego Bay.
Which one?
S Hotel in Montego Bay. They sell like timeshares. Basically,
who's it?
S Hotel.
Oh, S Hotel. Okay, yeah. I've heard of the brand. I don't know them like granular. I thought you said SSL or something.
No, S Hotel.
No.
I think that allow people to actually invest. I'm not sure though, but I heard it. Where a lot of businesses or a lot of these hotels or big properties that would allow people to actually invest in them, and they invest in a form of timeshare. Yeah,
and there's a million ways to chop it up, but all of these brands, no matter who it is, they are a brand name, and then they're generally backed by a private equity structure, which means that outside for each individual property, there's a different set of owners and managers and things like that. So even though you may have Amman Resorts, for example, and they have 36 locations, each Amman is owned by a different group in the back of it. Right?
Okay.
Or S Hotel, as an example. But in terms of breaking it into different segments, you have acquisitions, right? So that's really where I focus 100%, almost 100% of my time, and that's finding new opportunities off market. Because the thing is that if you look at that wholesale deal I was telling you about where we made $200K just by flipping the contract, that was with no renovations. That was just by finding a good opportunity that's worth investing in.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, section number one. Then you have your value add process. That's whether it's with construction. That's when you have your general contractor, architect, and then we are the construction managers. So we manage the construction process. That's really a project management perspective. Then you have property management. Property management is the actual day-to-day care of the asset itself. And so that is making sure that the lawn is cut, the rents are collected, the trash is removed, the maintenance and upkeep of the property. That's where that happens. And then you have your investor relations. Your investor relations is where you have your relationship with the people that are, stakeholding and funding and growing your business. So those are the I guess 5 fingers, of where I spend the most of my time. And obviously there's things like branding and marketing. But it's like chicken.
Let's say that you do like networking events as well.
Yeah. So, because it's private equity. And so the nature of private equity means that it's all private. These are not deals that are accessible to the public.
Mm-hmm.
So your network and things of that nature and adding value to your community.
So that's a part of why you keep some of the events that you keep.
That's one angle of it. That's one aspect of it. I mean, and I have like what's called my 3 Bs.
Yeah.
So that is, assets under management. I want to add $1 billion of value to my friends and community and network.
Mm-hmm.
That's also just another form of like how I feel fulfilled as a person. And then also just value to the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the nonprofit and community stuff really comes in.
Yeah.
So all those just kind of jam into one, just relations, just finding ways to help people and connect dots. And that's it.
So Mario, continuing, not to finish, right? Or continuing. So in terms of, doing the type of business that you do, right? If somebody was starting to get involved in that right now, the exact line of business as you are in, some different part of the world that is actually listening right now that you might not have reached to, how would you actually advise them to actually get in? What are the advantages and the disadvantages of the business that you're in right now? And also, I'm asking this question to you as well, Mario. And also, what is the exact roadmap that you'd actually lay out for them to be as successful as you are within the space?
I appreciate it. So I would say, okay, what are the advantages and disadvantages? Let's start off with the disadvantages versus being a supply company, right?
Yeah.
Because being a supply company, I'm being presumptuous here. I'm assuming that it's weekly sales on cash, right? Like weekly, like you make a sale, you get cash, right?
Yeah.
The time cycles of development and what I'm doing can be so long before you actually have a material like cash event, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to find the opportunity, lock up the opportunity, close on the opportunity, bring the opportunity to life. And so the first years, that is where trading really helped the most.
Yeah.
Because
the trade as well too.
To be honest, and there's risk with that, and that comes with its own cup of tea.
Yeah.
But it really helped because the day-to-day ability to invest over the long term.
Yeah.
That is what trading really helped me to do. But in terms of what is the exact roadmap, I would say find a skill that is very, very valuable to investors.
Yeah.
And I think one of that biggest things is being able to find the opportunity. That will almost separate you from really anybody. Because somebody who has maybe a lot of money, they may not have a lot of time, or they may not have the energy.
Yeah.
And so that was my unique angle. I also see things where like some of the best architects or the best contractors or whatever the case may be, their skill set is so valuable that they're able to generally be a part of these deals as well, because instead of paying that in cash, you get it as equity. It ends up bringing the project to life. But in terms of roadmap, I think what I did, which was learning how to find opportunities, no matter if you're an architect, no matter what angle of the business that you're coming from, all money is made in the buy.
Yeah.
So that would be that. And also grow your network. And I think the biggest thing as well is to not really look at the money up front, right? I mean, actually building a relationship. my main investor owns over 80,000 apartments.
Mhm.
And when I was looking to start my career, my only request was, can I just sit down with you
Mhm.
every quarter for 1 hour just to ask you questions? And then over time, when COVID started, he said, okay, well, I want to back you to start on your own. I brought 600 units of off-market real estate to that investor, and really started to bring my name to make a name for myself, which then created a track record. So I think another thing as well is taking the long-term view.
Mhm.
Because no matter how smart you are, or whatever the case may be, when you start anything, it takes time,
Mhm.
and nothing really cements a relationship like the amount of years that you've known someone. Like, so
Yeah.
for example, your high school friends.
Mhm.
Those people probably mean something completely different to you
Yeah,
than
yeah.
your college friends
Mhm.
or whatever the case may be, right? So I think just getting into the game and shaking hands, time will prove itself. And that allows you to have greater relationships and more trustability. And trust is really what everything is lynched on in terms of exchanging resources and equity and that kind of stuff.
All right.
So Mario, in starting, it's been puzzling me. In starting your company, right, being a supply company, you have so many other, you have manufacturers and you have so many other suppliers out there, right? So, in starting your company, AML, right, was there like any like doubt of, boy, how am I gonna manage to do this against all of them other big dogs, yeah? And just tell us some of the greatest challenges you faced of starting and growing and getting to where you are now.
To answer the first part, the doubts were there.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me. Because when AML started, I was 21.
Yeah.
Right? I'm 31 now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at I don't want to call any names, but you know the big hardware.
Yeah.
Gucci and so.
Yeah, but the
And-
thing about it, like what you do, especially with what you're doing right now, not to cut you, in terms of like, you're basically still partnering with all of them. Yeah.
But the doubts were there.
Mhm.
But I said to myself, like, listen, everybody is selling the same item, right? For basically, give and take a few dollars, basically the same price. What I'm going to have to use to differentiate myself is the quality of my customer service,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, which is what.
So, I had to get a team in place and try to provide exceptional customer service.
Mhm.
I'm going to say, I think as a business owner, and especially in the sector that I'm in, I think I do more than most in terms of how hands-on I am.
So you have a lot
With
of skin in the game.
Yes. I will jump on my trucks. I will go look. Whether you bought something from me last year and your building is finished, I'm going to go check up on you, right?
Mhm.
I'm going to go to your site, and if you're still building, go to your site and look and say, all right, look, she or he is moving on to the roof now. Let me see if I can call some of my suppliers, trying to be proactive.
Mhm.
See if I can call some of my suppliers and get some discounts that I can, forward to he or she, my customer, so that they can save some money on the roof,
Mhm.
right? And I'll go to them and say, listen, I know that the next phase of the project is roofing. Whether you're going to slab it or you're going, here's some of the deals I can give you,
Mhm.
right? Just for your consideration.
Yeah.
Not rushing you. Whenever the time is right,
Mhm.
just think about it.
And you
Right.
doing that, providing good customer service, good name spreads, so.
Yeah. And I tell you, it creates a domino effect,
Mhm.
right? And I've had people tell me that, boy, I tell you, say, see none of them money that have been before you
Mhm.
push out as much effort as you.
Mhm.
And that drives me to do even more,
Mhm.
right?
So
Yeah, I totally understand that, and I understand it not just from a personal level, but I remember even when we were doing the mock-up with Brit, and she was saying one of the best things, even when competing, just starting out new and competing with other big companies, the number one thing you have to secure is a good consumer/customer base, right? So when you know you have those loyal customers that are going to keep coming back and those customers that are going to spread your name and spread the good word of you, it's far better than the quick money or the once in a while big money. The good customer base is the best thing that you can do for a new starting out business, right? But you go to your sites and stuff, and we see that you ensure that all is going well, and you show them that you're hands-on and not just a lazy business owner that sits back, right? No discredit to that, but you know,
I want to sit back.
no, I want to sit back, trust me. But how do you ensure that, because you're not a manufacturer of most of your stuff, right? So how do you try to ensure that AML always has the products to be on time in the store for customers to come in and always be available to get them? How do you manage like the supply chain?
Well, you have to monitor your inventory, right? The supply chain, I take my stock regularly, right? And with items that I know going to be short, because you find that a lot in the construction sector, especially with COVID. Lumber was like extremely scarce. You might have to now shift around your budget and say, all right, I'm going to kind of ease up with the purchasing of aggregates and cement and plumbing items and try to focus on lumber, because, you know, word through the pipeline is that lumber going to be scarce. And anytime things get scarce, they become very expensive, right? So, you know, you monitor cash flow and you try to cross your T's and dot your I's and get what you know is going to be demanded highly.
So on that same topic, right? In terms of like the shortage of supplies and all of that, how do you stay up to date with all the advancements within your industry, which is the RDA industry? How do you like prepare for things before they even happen? You know?
Well, I try in order to know that they might happen. You have to, keep good relationships with your suppliers, right? Because so
they're the ones that tell you what is going to happen.
Most of the time. But I tell you, you have to have good relationships because it's not a must that they give you the information, right? When my suppliers come, I'll buy them even lunch. I have relationships. I know most of them, birthdays. I try to stay informed as much as I can. And they look out for me.
Yeah.
Right?
All right. So how do you guys, both of you guys, but you were talking about the same thing as managing your relationships and, just staying in the loop with everything, right? But how do you guys manage those relationships? How do you establish it in the first place? How do you establish your relationships to get to where you're at right now? How did you do that?
How did I do that? Yeah, so I think there's a couple different aspects to building relationships, right? Because it's not only just what can I get out of this person, but it's also how do you become an individual that can add value to the widest amount of people as possible. And so with every single relationship, anyone that I met, it was really about how can I add value to this person? How can I introduce them to someone else?
Yeah.
Every single solitary relationship, I was more focused on how quickly, yes, I may have an ask coming down the line, but before that ask comes, how could I have added 3 times the value to you up front?
Yeah.
So then that way, it's a circular situation. So I think there's a couple different aspects of it. So number one, be everywhere, be omnipresent. All the industry events. For me personally, I looked up all the major owners of real estate, just talking to them all the time. In terms of deals, I'm buying a deal in DC. We just found out 3 seconds ago. And this deal that I'm getting here is completely off market. The interest rate on the debt is 4%, when right now interest rates for everyone else is like 8%. There's certain stuff that happens in DC. Legally, they're handling all of that. But that comes from a relationship that I built with the seller. Always just trying to figure out how I can connect them, add value. And that's where like the best deals have been coming from. So being omnipresent, being at all the events, following up with people, but then other than that, trying to be someone of value in your community and also adding direct value to whoever you meet, no matter where they are. Yeah.
You can learn her the microphone. Caleb should go quiz it, you know.
Sure.
No, it's just a simple question.
She's
I
into
didn't know I was
like-
going to be put on the spot for the question. So you mentioned wholesaling as a good investment opportunity. Are you familiar with tax lien properties in your neck of the woods? And, how do you perceive that as an investment?
Yeah, so I am familiar with that. The thing is that there's so many different ways of making money. I think one of the things about trading that it taught me was like having to find like your niche and your row, because there's so many different setups that you can take. If you take every single setup, you may not get where you're trying to go. So yes, the tax lien is a great game. Some people do really, really well in it. I think it's almost guaranteed money because you either get the land or you're getting a high interest rate back on fronting the taxes. So that is a great area. And then I think you're asking a question around wholesaling specifically, or is it more so just
It
specifically?
was more so tax lien.
Yeah, so tax lien, I am familiar with it. I don't do them. There have been a couple of tax lien opportunities that have passed, but I know people that just focus on that outright.
So any particular reason why you don't do tax lien?
With wholesaling, with wholesaling initially, you find an opportunity and within 30 days, you're having a fee event from that. Tax liens can take a longer amount of time. And then sometimes you may just have money that's just tied up in a deal over a long period of time. So I think it's really good to have it as a tool that's in your belt for the right deal that comes through. But if you're doing it as a business, you may need a little bit more staying power.
Okay.
And you also may need more cash up front. Where wholesaling, I was even beyond broke.
Yeah.
So like all I had was my phone and figuring out a way to call somebody.
Connecting buyer and seller.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So how do you manage how do you manage your risk within your industry, which is the real estate industry?
Yeah, so what we do is due diligence and really just like the most ruthless due diligence possible. I would think, especially if you don't have a lot of information or you don't have a lot of knowledge in a certain industry, build an advisory board of people who are experts and say, hey, here, have equity in my deal to show me the ropes or to show me what to look out for or find a partner or whatever the case may be. But in terms of managing risk, it's ruthless due diligence.
Yeah.
Every single facet from what's the macro environment. But some people get so lost in the macro environment that they're not getting the micro opportunities. Being able to quantify the business opportunity that I'm going after. And the thing is that at the end of the day, just making sure that we're buying deals correctly. Ensuring that, if I can't rent this deal to my target customer, what do I need to do to ensure that I can cover my debt and my expenses? Like, for example, for Jamaica, because we're doing boutique hospitality and things of that nature, we're actually doing this deal completely in cash, no debt whatsoever.
This is the one in Jamaica right now, right?
Yeah, for the one in Jamaica.
Remind me. I have a question right on that topic.
Cool. Yeah. So to manage the risk of putting up this new asset and all the complexities of that, we're removing default risk 100%. So as long as I sell this land for exactly what I bought it for, or we're purchasing it for in construction or whatever the case may be, that's a safety perspective. And just knowing your market really, really well.
Okay.
All right. So from experience, right? Being where you are now with all the knowledge that you have now, all the experience that you have now. Personally, I listen to a lot of Robert Kiyosaki and I read a lot of his books.
Funny enough, the man has like, let me talk a business. The man has like a room, just books
full of them
to the roof.
Full of them.
And every week, I think like every week or every month, not month, every week, he's reading a new book. And the type of guys that he's actually reading, You know, he's reading on like Warren Buffett. He's reading on this other guy. I can't remember. It's a big book that he had recommended to me one time, and it's black. No, it has a
Secondor?
yes.
Yeah, it's a hard.
Secondor, you know. You know, so this man is always reading and all of that.
Thank you.
You know, so you can
Right. So yeah, as I said, I listen to a lot of Robert Kiyosaki
Yeah,
and I read a lot of his books. So he talks vastly about living off credit or building off
Other
debt.
people's-
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you made a point a while ago, and I would want to know from the experience that you have now, if you are going into new properties, new ventures, right? Would you do it and you have a surplus of cash, like you have all the cash in the world to do it upfront cash, straight cash, all out of your pocket? Would you rather to do that or do it through debt? Like when you're purchasing a new property, you know, you put your 20% down and you use the rest of the money to do something else and you make your payments or whatever, however the case would be. How would you do it? With your surplus of cash or through debt?
So when you're operating in a clear place, I would do it through debt,
Mhm.
right? Because that's where you can get growth and you can also preserve your cash and things of that nature. But I think, like, for example, some people will be married and say, like, I only do the BRRRR strategy, for example,
what's the BRRRR
which
strategy?
is buy, rent, refinance, repeat, or buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat,
Mhm.
right? And so refinancing, it makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't make sense when interest rates are just going up,
Mhm.
right? Because interest rates have gone
Like right now.
as high to like 17%, 15%, 20% in the 1970s, right?
Mhm.
So in those situations, it's like the higher interest rates go, in theory, the lower prices go. The higher
Mhm.
prices go, in theory, generally interest rates are like lower. That's why when the pandemic was going on and interest rates were like 2%, 4%, the real estate market was just roaring because it didn't cost you like your cost of capital was so much lower.
Mhm.
But if interest rates are now 20% and I can't even cover my debt service, well, now I either have to fund that expense out of pocket every single solitary month,
Mhm.
or I have to sell the property at a loss, or whatever the case may be. So it all depends on the situation. But in theory, debt is preferable to invest in buying assets if the environment warrants it. So in the United States, I'm leveraging all the time, but the reason why I'm doing the cash in Jamaica, for example, is because, like, for example, my apartment building, I just get revenue per room or revenue per unit once every single month.
That's
Mhm.
overseas.
That's overseas. For my hospitality asset, I'm making revenue per night. We
Mhm.
have service income. We have excursion revenue. We have transportation revenue. We have food and beverage revenue. So even though I'm coming in with no cash, with all cash, sorry,
Mhm.
I have 5 different places that I'm making money, you know, from a leverage perspective,
Mhm.
which is different from apartment units where the leverage is kind of needed to make the return make
And
sense.
that's when you speak of excursions and all of that, you're talking about the properties you have in Jamaica.
Yeah, because the hospitality business is not actually real estate.
Mhm.
There's a real estate component to it. But if we look at, you know, Wynn Resorts, for example, in Las Vegas, the reason why they were able to pay that asset off in cash in 18 months is because they have the casino aspect to it,
Yeah.
right? And so with boutique hospitality, you're essentially building a house with hotel revenue.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
But debt is preferable in the short.
There's
So for short, you would prefer to do it through debt.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I, as long as I can cover my debt service.
Mhm. As long as you can manage it, you're
Yeah.
willing to do that.
Absolutely. Because they can come back to bite you and hit you really hard. And when that cash is evaporated and that debt cost is there, numbers are so much larger. I mean,
Mhm,
like, you know, sometimes you can't even get a job to work that off,
Mhm.
right? So you have to kind of really think about the timing of doing so. And the thing is, as well, is that you can always leverage later,
Mhm.
right? Rule number 1 in business is survive and then make money, right? So even when it comes to this Jamaica strategy, we actually plan on leveraging at maybe about year 4,
Mhm.
right? Because we would have built it. The construction risk is gone.
so you put your money in first.
Yeah, your money in first.
And then you leverage it off of what you've already built after.
Well, we build it first to
Mhm.
to remove the construction risk.
Mhm.
And then we get the operations for 2
Mhm.
years to be able to prove to ourselves that we can handle that debt.
And
Based
also to
off-
prove to the institutions or the private investors that you go
or
to.
whatever. Well, yeah, well, the private investors would already be in, but I'm talking about in
Yeah.
terms of the bank of who's going to give you the loan.
Oh, so you have private investors and you'd still go to the bank just to say?
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, this last deal that I did in October, it was a 24-unit apartment building that we're converting to 43 apartment beds. And so we bought the deal for $3.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
We had to raise $1.5 million as equity to put down on the deposit.
Mhm.
And then the bank came in and gave us a loan for $1.5 million for the construction.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all into the deal at $5 million. And then based off of our pro forma and the value that we're adding, the building is worth 6.3 now.
Mhm.
And so now we're getting a loan based off of that to
Based off the what, the 6.3?
yeah. And we're all in at 5. So that's 1.3 clear. And that's tax free, you know? And that's another thing from tax efficiency as well. That's another big thing for debt.
Yeah.
Because it's about
All right.
paying the-
And on that, remind me, I have another question for you as well.
yeah.
All right. So, but I want to ask Mario something.
Yeah.
So, I know you own a few Airbnbs.
No, but
Right.
before you go into that, I know you're going to ask him, you know. Well, I don't know, but I feel like I know.
Mm.
Mario,
Yeah.
in terms of on the same topic of debt, if Caleb was supposed to come to you right now and be like, I'm building out the entire strip, right? I need 300 mil worth of material to do this. How would you get that done? Would you use money out of pocket? Would you leverage debt? Like, what is the blueprint of how you'd actually get that done? Like, you would not want the opportunity to pass it.
That is true. We would first have to work out the terms. That's the first thing, right?
Yeah.
Because, truth be told, I get credit from myself.
Oh, you get.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you. You see that?
I go-
Man's like, bingo.
Use other people's, you know.
Yeah.
We know where we're going.
Yeah.
So, once we can negotiate the terms and we can both win off of it, then I don't see why. we can't.
Because you're making a bet on taking that credit and getting the supplies, and you're
Yeah.
also fronting the cash to get the supplies up front too.
Exactly.
So you can sell it to me for your margin.
Yeah.
So you're making a contractual, reliance or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. That's where trust is really important.
Yeah, trust is the biggest part of
Partnership in business.
partnership
Yeah,
in business.
100%. 100%. It's more. I think that's one of the
And
biggest
track
things.
record, yeah.
And track record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that the A student mentality of being the smartest guy in the room, it does help. That is something that's important. But the thing is that being able to go to the smartest people in the room and learn from them and learn from all the smartest people in the room,
Is
that's
better.
going to take you way further than any individual
Mhm.
work that you can do to study anything.
Always
Yeah.
be a student.
Especially,
Always.
family money or whatever the case
If you're the
may be.
smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong
You're in the
room.
wrong room.
Yeah, and then you need to have that. What you call it? You need to have that. Just that personality of just being likable,
Yeah.
being able to have a conversation
Genuine.
as well. So
Mhm.
you can continue with the question.
So yeah, I know you have a few Airbnbs. So did you build those, or did you buy them and like renovate them,
Or did you partner?
or
On
did
them.
you partner? And if not, if you didn't build them, I was going to ask if like you would get into the real estate aspect of things, like building the Airbnbs from
Definitely.
scratch now.
Definitely.
Definitely. I have bought properties. I manage properties,
Mhm.
and I haven't built any yet.
Mm.
Mhm.
But I think that's one of the next steps I'm going to take,
Mhm.
right? Because I love construction,
Yeah.
and I have the resources, even through the relationships over
Yeah,
the
yeah.
years. So I don't see why not. So we definitely might not be AML, but it's going to be something
Mhm,
that
mhm,
we're
mhm.
going to be building some properties and
Yeah.
flooding the market.
So, like, what strategies do you actually use to actually stay competitive within your industry?
Strategies. I do a lot of mystery shopping.
Mr. Shopping, like you go to a hardware store and be like, I'm here to buy 100
I don't even want
blocks.
to. But I will send people out.
Yeah.
I will, pay them
Yeah.
go out and,
Mhm.
and get word on the street, get prices,
Mhm.
and I will, will even go back to my supplier and say, listen, I mean, this is what I'm up against, so how can you help me?
Mhm.
Because at the price you're giving me, we can't compete with this.
Mhm.
And the good suppliers will, work with you. And through that, now you can manage to even undersell.
Mhm.
And,
Alright guys, so y'all been reaching out to me asking me for funding, right? Funding for, you might have a Shopify store, you might have a Amazon store, you might want to get funded, your trading account, you might want a trading account to manage, all of that, right? Now, we're doing the podcast as an initiative to basically help you guys, and network with the people that I have and sharing that network with you guys, right? Which is why I share the information that you can actually reach out to them. But we've launched Pro Traders Fund. Pro Traders Fund is a funding provider for traders who are looking to get funding of capital to actually manage, right? So all you have to do is go on the website and get a challenge, pass the challenge, prove your skills, shows that you can actually manage the funds, and you can get funded of up to, $3 million of board funds, right? So jump on the site, use code Billionaire to actually take advantage of the discounts that we're offering, special discounts for you guys that go on the platform, and y'all can take advantage of that, level up your trading career. You don't need to use your own funds. You can use our funds as long as you can show that you can actually manage it. So jump on the site right now, take advantage. Pro Traders Fund, y'all know the vibe, use code Billionaire. Super blessed.
You can manage to undersell and still make a profit.
of course. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever undersell within your industry in terms of like?
Well, I definitely undersell because the thing is, I undersell myself absolutely.
Mhm.
So because the thing is that your name and your reputation is everything. Disappointing people. So if you're disappointing people in terms of supplying, or I'm disappointing someone in terms of not hitting my returns the right way.
Yeah.
If we say, okay, well, the returns are actually this internally, we market a lower return.
Mhm.
Because the thing is that if we do really well, our investors are going to participate in that anyway.
Mhm.
So as long as they're comfortable with some of our worst case scenarios,
Mhm.
and we lead off of that,
Mhm.
then if you do outperform, that will just take care of itself.
Yeah.
But excuse me, I want to tell you that sometimes,
Mhm.
in order to retain a customer, retain a sale, I will like break even on some items.
Yeah. But never lose on it. Just break even.
No, wait. Try not to lose. But for
But have you ever lost though?
pretty man. Yeah. But we try to minimize and turn those L's into lessons.
Into lessons, but how many lessons they can have, so though? Because at some point it will mash up business.
Yeah, but I mean the losses I can't even. There are very few.
Yeah,
man. But when I say break even,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let us say, for example, Caleb wants 20 items,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I only have 19. That one item
Mm-hmm.
that I don't have can break the sale, completely,
Yeah, for real. Because
break the sale completely, And I don't want Caleb. I don't want to tell Caleb that I don't have it. Shit, I'll jump in my vehicle and go buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And don't make no money on it.
Yeah.
Let me making money on the 19 other items.
Mm.
I can't tell Caleb that, listen, I don't have it. And then Caleb now going, go to one. Suppose him like that other hardware.
Yeah. Or the fact that you don't have that same one, other things, he might go look upon it in the future probably and say, boy, I never have this in them. Probably not have this. Right?
Exactly.
So
once it's available on the island, I try my best.
For make sure so you be the one
Yeah,
to supply
man.
it to them.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yes.
them will look to you for other things in the future, and then you might not make money off the first 3 times you go to your way to provide, but then after a while, you see, all right, this is in demand. You start stocking it and you start supplying
Exactly.
it, and you see where the inspiration of that inventory comes from Caleb, and then you start just wholesaling it across the island and retailing it.
Yeah, 100. Because the thing is, like, let's just say I took on debt on
Mhm.
my side to buy the materials.
Mhm.
He doesn't have on time.
Yeah.
So then now I still have to pay the debt every single month.
Mhm.
Every single month, everything is delayed because you have like things that are also reliant on those things.
Mhm.
So that The contractors are relying on the materials.
Mhm.
We have the different phases of construction
Mhm.
that need to be done by a certain time and all that kind of stuff. So when you have one unreliable person,
Mhm.
it can really, and that's why I even say, and even as a business, we would prefer to come in and have pay the price to have the best people up front to minimize all those the risk of all those other mistakes.
Yeah.
And,
But how do you-
and then the customer doesn't want the headache,
Yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah, the customer
Yeah,
doesn't want the
yeah.
headache.
Mhm.
So why would you come to me and I push you to somebody else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People have done that to me in construction before. Like one item is very important in terms because I realize both of you guys speak on customer service. Sometimes it's not you guys, it's not the boss, it's not the owners, and it's the person at the front desk,
Yeah, 100%.
right?
Yeah.
I will go and I remember this specific thing. I was spending $10 million that day, right? And just by the fact that I was still willing to wait I was ordering an item, I was willing to wait on the other items. As you were saying, one item out of 20. I was willing to wait, but just because of the customer service and the fact that the person at the front desk, I'm spending $10 million, you don't try to find an alternative for to solve my problem. I started to go to different partners and they were able to make that full $265,000 off of me like nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Cause they make everything flow and make everything easy. Them not send you from AML to Caleb ML to Willow ML to Patrice ML. You know?
Yeah.
And I want to tell you something, you say you went in there to spend $10 million. On the flip side, I believe that you should treat everybody with respect. Because, you'll see a man come in and spend let us just say, for example, $100,000, right? And you'll see him like twice a year.
Yeah.
But I've seen it, not in my hardware, but I've seen people like disregard the man that's spending $100. But the man was spending $100 are coming every single day.
Every single day, and it adds up.
Every single day. Right? So everybody, just treat them the best way and try to provide for their needs. Right? Yeah.
So, all right, both of you guys, can you guys share like any stories, like any significant story that has had a major impact on where you're at right now? A lot.
I don't even know. Kind of. I think I may need a little bit of a segment of like in which way,
Turn my mic. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry. Repeat the question one more time.
Can you share a significant story or any significant story that has contributed to where you're at right now, and that just really changed your perspective on life on a whole? Would that be good or
It's
bad?
a lot.
Yeah.
We can't even pinpoint.
The most significant.
I can't find most significant, but
Yeah.
one thing I was looking at the other day. Remember, I started small, right? I used to. I don't even think my wife probably knows this. I used to shovel.
Yeah.
Sand and stone.
Mm-hmm.
When I started out, I didn't have a truck for myself.
Yeah.
Right? So we used to have to outsource deliveries. And I didn't have a tractor to load. Because remember, we didn't start out basically for the general public.
Yeah.
And people started to come in. Can't turn them back. I used to shovel sand and stone onto trucks. You know how much borrow make a yard? You know how much shovel.
That's why I tell them about the gym.
Just cool. Right?
Kind of much used to be out there.
I remember one day I did like 10 yards of sand.
By yourself?
About 5 yards. No, me and this other man. But trust me, I'm gonna go home. Because at the time, I was when I just started, I was living with my parents. I didn't move from my parents' house till like 18 months after my home business. And I remember I got home and I said, boy, mommy, Jesus, it's rough, It's rough. She said, just stay the course. Just stay the course, and everything will get better. And the other day, I was out, when I remember the story, I was out in the yard where we keep the heavy stuff.
Mhm.
And I was looking at my trucks and the tractor and the forklift. And I said, boy,
You own them thing here.
really and truly come a far way, you know.
Mhm.
Come a far way.
Mhm.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Caleb.
Yeah, so I really just kind of thought, you talk about I kind of have like 3 short experiences.
Yeah.
Short.
Before you even start,
Yeah.
I saw a picture of you where you were, I think you were mopping some type of floor or something like that. What was that
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, I mean, when I dropped out of school, it was definitely sink or swim.
Yeah.
And so,
Swim or swim.
yeah, swim or swim, because I was already sinking. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I was working at Uprising. Oh, yo, this is a funny story. And you know what? This is a funny story because that was when I made a decision of all decisions, right? No, I'm going to just go ahead and say this, right?
Yeah.
So I was working at, Uprising Muffin Shop in DC. And one thing I can tell you about DC, you got some crazy people, all right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so it was right before closing and everything. You guys are gonna have a good laugh at this.
Yeah.
And this dude walked in before closing and just decided to shit all over the floor.
Oh God.
What?
Are you in charge of cleaning up?
And I was in charge of closing.
That is crazy.
So then I called the owner and I said, I'm not doing this. And then he was just like, well, you told me that when I give you this job that you would do anything, including mopping the floors. I said, damn, I'm a man of my word. So my boy was with me and I said, take a photo of this because this is the last time I will ever. And I've never, and then from that moment moving forward, I think that's what trading, because with trading is to be, you have to be all in, right?
Yeah.
Just all in. And so I think it makes easier to go all in, knowing that I was not going back to that, right?
Yeah.
So that was actually
Damn, that's crazy,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
What?
yeah. So that was one crazy.
Yo,
I'll be real, right?
I ain't making you any promise.
Yo.
But you know, at the end of the day, man of integrity, though, right?
Yeah.
Because when it comes to my obligations, I hit under all circumstances. Under all circumstances.
Yeah.
But the next thing, but on a more serious note, I was thinking of them. I was very, very close to my grandfather growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very close. That was my guy. That was my best friend. And so as soon as I moved to Jamaica, he passed away.
Yeah.
So when I went back home and I saw him like pass, like, that body in the casket type of situation, and knowing that that's really everyone's fate, right? We all have one day. That is really where internally I said, I will not waste a moment of my time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is the common outcome that that I'm marching towards, I will live my life according to chasing my dreams and trying to fulfill and use my time the way that I, am motivated to. So I would think that is, we have that funny experience. We have that more somber experience. The next most important thing that ever happened to me, more than even buying Guilford or anything like that, was my first $5,000 check through real estate, through wholesaling.
Yeah.
Because there was no mentors or anything like that. I just said I wanted to be in real estate, and just that multi-year version, to find and do a deal and then get paid from it. To this day, nothing has ever felt like that.
More than
ever.
a 5K.
I mean, because it wasn't the money of value. It was the actually being paid from this industry that I dreamed of getting into.
You saw that it could work.
It
That
had
it
a
could actually
fight,
work.
and had a fight to get to that point and finally finding my way. So that was that. And the last one would be in October
October of last year.
of 2022.
Yeah.
When my mentor, said to me, because we were fundraising for this, and after he's, decided his allocation, he said, when you go to market, let everybody know that you're the first real estate investment that I've ever made outside of my own company. And when you think about like
Credibility. Brand credibility.
one of the largest private investors nationally, but like to also have, because the things that I dropped out of school.
Yeah.
A lot of people the first thing when I dropped out of school is people were saying that you're Black, you're uneducated, you're untouchable. And essentially have someone with like the top reputation now you being the only bet that they've ever made outside of their own company, but then is also encouraging you to use that leverage to market.
Yeah.
That was my master's degree moment, right?
Yeah,
You know, in just terms of just like
you got the
internal.
masters from the experience.
Oh yeah, that was my master's, or just in terms of I guess like that level of just confidence of just knowing that the top of the industry like validates it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would say like that collection is like the big kind of points that I can kind of speak to.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have anything else?
I said,
Yeah. So the thing is, you spoke on fundraising just now, right? And before we even touch on the topic of fundraising, there are a lot of people who are watching this right now that feel as if, you know, they it's only one way to actually make money, right? So what I wanted to know is, what are the different ways that you've diversified your portfolio, and also in terms of funding these different projects? You know, how do you go about a fundraising and having it, or ensuring that it is successful?
Well, I would say that how do I go about fundraising? I think the biggest thing is gaining traction. I don't know if that's the answer to the question, but it was very, very difficult in the beginning for the first couple of properties to buy. It was so hard. It was all but impossible to do that.
Because of funding.
Because I didn't have the funding and I didn't have the track record. And I was also going for size. So that was really difficult. But the thing is that after, a year goes by and they're catching up with you. Oh, well, we did this project. That's super, it's going really well. Oh, the next year, whatever the case may be. And then each of these opportunities that you brought to these people that they may have passed the first time, well, then it became successful. And not only did it become successful, but very reputable parties also jumped on the bandwagon as well. And then it starts snowballing. I think another thing as well is staying within your market and domain of expertise. And yes, I am diversifying business lines and things of that nature. But back home, when we are looking to do a deal in Johns Hopkins University, we're known as being, some of the more aggressive players in the market, no matter what size of a deal it is. So because we're a reputable player, that's where the deals are coming in. And then also when it comes to investing in this opportunity, we're entrusted to just continue our track record in the way we've been doing.
Okay. Yeah. Mario, same for you.
How have I diversified? Well,
diversified, and also how do you raise funds or get the credit to do, for example, if you were to supply a big contractor, real estate investor, property manager like Caleb, how would you, gather the funds to do that?
Well,
and also the first part of the question, which is remind me the first part of the question for me.
The question that you asked?
Yeah.
How have you diversified?
Yeah, diversify.
Yeah. All right. So let us start with the funding. So, so far, since that initial investment, I haven't. No debt has been brought on.
Oh, yeah, you have not taken out a loan to do anything. It's just the relationship with the suppliers that you have.
When I started AML Building Supplies, as I told you, I started with 257 items. Not quantity. Out of pocket. Not quantity.
Yeah, you bought them out of pocket, or is it that?
As I said, I got help from my parents.
Okay.
Yeah. No, not in quantity, but just different items. Because of course your point of sale will tell you how many items you have. We when we just started, the containers, and this is unknown to the public, containers were basically empty.
Yeah.
We just had to push everything up front to make it look like to make it look like something done. Right? I used to take up like plumbing items or electrical fittings or whatever the case may be, and I used to go to the back of the container like me, I get something. I'm not getting nothing. There's nothing around there. And to date now, we have a little under 10,000 different items, quantities.
Yeah. So how do you keep track of the inventory as well?
So what we do, like around the back, I try to count the stock like every week, and that is not a one-man effort. That is like half of the team, right? We started out with just 3 employees, including myself. Now we have like 9, right? And
Now you have 9 employees.
yeah, 9 employees, right? And we try to make sure that, because with having such a large inventory, there are a lot of times, through whatever the case may be, you have a customer's bill on hold and they got the items but they don't pay them bill yet. There's a lot of times when what is downstairs must match up with what on the computer, right? So we have to do constant checks. If I get some supplies from, let us say, a paint supplier, when we're putting them in the inventory, we check everything.
So how do you, for example, you made mention of example, Khalil takes, 10 mil worth of items, right?
All right.
10 mil worth of items, and then he's normally paying you on time, but magically you can't get him for whatever reason.
Well, first of all, he would have a credit limit.
Yeah, he would have a credit limit.
And the credit limit wouldn't be 10 mil. But, so, funny.
Yeah.
You have some unscrupulous people like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? I would assume that his case would be intentional. But you have some intentional people like that. So, over the years, what I've learned is that when you have customers on credit, you have to keep track of where them project reach. So you see, when a man move from sand and stone and lumber, and start by paint and tile, say, listen, projects we done. So you're time fee, pay.
Oh, so it's a case where Caleb is building right now, and Caleb can come to you and be like, "Hey man, I want you to give me this amount of items for probably a 1 year period, and then I'll pay you. I'll take my time and pay you on a monthly basis, weekly basis, or pay you at the end of the period." Is it something like that? Is structure?
No, I would structure it in such a way that he would have a credit limit, whatever the limit is, whatever we decide. And the terms would be no more than 30 days.
No more than 30 days.
Yeah.
That's a standard thing for overseas as well?
It can be, yeah.
30 days.
So sometimes it can be longer, but it depends on the sizing.
Yeah.
30 days.
What if I want...
Because I'm going to extend it to the extent that I get credit.
Oh, so you get it for 30 days. So you're giving
Most
it at the
times,
same 30 days. But
Yeah.
doesn't that put your business at risk though? Well, what if Caleb decides the money didn't come in as fast as you wanted, for example, his investors or for whatever reason?
And that is why we have to work with a credit limit, and we have to be very smart, because he's not the only person that would be on credit.
Yeah.
So suppose everybody stop, right? I, would have to have everybody structured in a way that, worst case scenario,
Yeah.
I stay afloat.
You're like a boat.
Yeah. Worst case scenario. If
when
everybody
you sink, you have a little dinghy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Caleb, a question that slipped me to ask you, right? Because usually in real estate, you usually have to focus on this per se. I don't know if you start, but let's say you didn't. What are your plans, or how do you plan to incorporate tax evasion? Like, as I said, I listen to a lot of Robert Kiyosaki and Warren Buffett.
I wouldn't say tax evasion though.
No, not illicit tax evasion, but
let me coin it properly.
Yeah.
How do you properly plan for tax?
Yeah, and
not
because
in one jurisdiction, but in multiple jurisdictions.
Yeah, because I was reading something that says most billionaires are broke per se, right? They don't own, push come to shove, they don't own anything.
And even Trump said it too. Trump says I don't pay taxes.
Yeah, them rich but them don't own anything, right? So it's like offshore, it's in other names under a company like that, like that.
Yeah. So the thing is that when a lot of these, first of all, I pay my taxes. All right, so I pay my taxes.
Let's get that straight.
Yeah, we got multiple attorneys on that one.
Yeah.
But So number one, there's multiple different things, because the thing is that when the billionaire says I don't pay taxes, they're talking about their personal income,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Trump he says he doesn't pay taxes, but he'll also say he pays millions of dollars in taxes. And the reason why that's the case is because you have different types of taxes.
Yeah.
Property
Mhm.
taxes.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah,
hard
yeah.
to evade property
Property
taxes.
tax, yeah.
But in terms of income or whatever the case may be, that's when it starts
Mhm.
turning on. So number one, there's so many different things because you have depreciation. Do you know about depreciation?
Mhm.
Well, we do something called cost segregation,
Mhm.
right? Where we depreciate every little item inside of our business. And that also exponentially increases our tax burden. Leveraging debt, our interest payments on that. So even as we're growing our equity position, every single time we make that mortgage payment, that's tax-free, right? And then if we do a refinance, because for example, if I buy a building for $2 million in theory, and I add value and make it a $3 million building, and then I take out $2 million in cash as a loan, that's tax-free, right? And then I'm just paying, and then every single time that, the tenants are making payments on that debt, that equity position is growing again, right? And so then it also comes down to where do you structure your entities? Where are your holdings companies, right? So we have some in Delaware, we have some in Wyoming. We have friends that are now taking heed of what's called Act 60 and going over to Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah, because if you do X amount of days in Puerto Rico per year, you don't pay taxes. Even when you do have a capital gains event, there's things like opportunity zones or places where you can invest your money and also defer taxes even further.
Opportunity zones in the US.
In the US for locally, things of that nature. We're looking at St. Lucia companies, Cayman Islands, blah, blah, blah. Because as a US citizen, I have to pay taxes no matter where in the world I am. So being tax efficient, and that's really for the attorneys to find every single solitary, accountants, every single solitary write-off that we can get.
Yeah.
And we just go as hard as we can on that.
So, Mario, what about you? How do you handle your taxes?
Pay them.
You pay a lot of taxes, right?
Huh?
Like you have, do you have a lot of write-offs? Not even trying to get in your business.
No, I mean, most of my taxes, like your your GCT returns, which we pay, and then at the end of the year, you have your yearly taxes. But apart from that, not as much as you.
Yeah.
The nature of the business.
But in order to always stay
on a good standing.
on the good standing, just have the accountants and them take care of that.
Yeah. I have a question for Caleb. David is asking. This is David asking, right? So, are there any emerging trends or shifts in the real estate market that you find particularly interesting, or that you believe will impact future investments?
Impact certain future. Okay, so in terms of trends and things of that nature, I think with technology, work from home, things of that nature, destination areas, and more exotic places are becoming exponentially more attractive. I have friends now that may work at Facebook, but then they're doing a month in Mexico, a month in Colombia, a month in the Caribbean. I think that's really going to open up markets. I think the decentralization or the fractionalization of the cost of being able to get into real estate deals is going down. So you have a lot of online platforms. You have a lot of operators like myself.
They're offering funding.
Yes, there's funding, but then also the ability to get into institutional quality deals in which you have to be, an accredited investor, that's going down.
So is it that those deals that you're mentioning, is it that you're buying the contract or you're buying the actual?
I'm buying the actual asset. But in this situation, you would still be buying a piece of the fraction of the mega deal that you can be a part of. So I think that's really important. I think you said in terms of trends that are impacting the industry, when interest rates were at 2%, 4%, a lot of these operators were just like writing them, saying that interest rates would just stay low over the long period in time. But I think one of the things that's good about trading Forex is that you really have to pay attention to the central banks.
Yeah.
And so I was just thinking to myself, well, no, if you look at the history, interest rates can only go up from here if they're at historic all-time lows.
Mhm.
And so when you look at how high interest rates can go,
Mhm.
I think a lot of people are just like, well, interest rates are coming down or whatever the case may be. That's like the hope and praise. That's like being in drawdown
Yeah.
and you're just hoping that it's going to turn around, right?
You're blowing on the candles.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So being prepared for the worst case scenario and still setting yourself up to survive, right?
Mhm.
Because if interest rates are super high,
Mhm.
that may make financing real estate more expensive, but then buying real estate and acquiring real estate will be at some of the most affordable prices that we've been exposed to since 2008.
Okay. Adding to that as well, right? Another question from David. How do you identify promising markets or locations for real estate investments?
Sorry, say that one more time.
How do you identify promising markets or locations for real estate investments? For example, you identify Jamaica as a market that you want to invest in. You see the potential. How do you identify this location, or how did you identify this location, and how are you identifying others?
Yeah, so I'm really, really bullish in Jamaica. I believe in Jamaica a lot. I think that they have a lot of things working for Jamaica as well. 60% debt to GDP target is so great. So great. Because what does that mean? That means that when the government is taking the foot off the gas in terms of spending on debt, they're going to actually have cash to be able to invest in social programs and things that actually uplift the country. When it comes to tourism, I think Jamaica really kind of averages at about like 1.7 million visitors a year. Within the first 5 months of this year, they did 1.5 million.
Yeah.
So that would indicate that the market is almost like 1xing if that trend was to continue. And because tourism is 25% of GDP, if Jamaica can 4 times its tourism market, 1x the economy, right? I think when you really look at the types of wealth that's swimming around Jamaica, for example, such as in St. Bart's, Bahamas, and things of that nature, you do have a lot of high net worth individuals that would come here to spend. And so when we look at Portland, which is the lowest crime parish by statistically, and things of that nature, plus you have that kind of privacy aspect to it, I think there's a lot of product market fit there. When it comes to the United States and apartment buildings, there's a lot of different things that we look at, right? If we look at where are there supply constraints? So around Johns Hopkins University, top 10 university in the country and in the world in STEM, right? But the thing is that the reason why we targeted Johns Hopkins University and not, let's just say, the University of Miami is because it's this very, very residential market. So because you can't go and build a 600-room apartment building there, the value of these houses and smaller properties that are right up on campus, those best locations aren't going to be eliminated by big supply. So those types of constraints. Plus, on top of that, we also look at where we can drive value.
Yeah.
So we tend to do these renovations in very historic neighborhoods. So properties that have been built since the 1920s and 1950s. Well, it's 2023 now. And a lot of the time, these properties have not been renovated substantially since then. So where can we add value? Where is supply constraints in terms of new competition? In terms of, hospitality, we're looking at tourism numbers. We're looking at crime, which is big issue.
Yeah.
And I hope that can get better as well. And then we're also looking at the stability of the nation that we want to do work in. I think with Jamaica greatly improving the financial condition of the overall government, I think that's just going to lead to more growth, and we just want to be a part of that.
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking, how would you value the investment that you're actually doing in Jamaica right now? Like, how would you value that?
So we bought this raw land. It's more speculative by nature because prices are all over the place. But over a year time that we've spent looking at the market, looking at deals, let's just say, land is selling between $100K and $1 million per acre. We're on the lower end of the spectrum. In terms of how do we value it, we looked at what our competition has been building for. What can we build for that same cost? And then you put what's called the cap rate on your income. So there's a couple different ways that you value real estate. You can do the sales approach, you can do the income approach, or you can do the replacement cost approach. And
So what's the
so
replacement cost approach? That's the
that's
first
just
one.
looking at like how much does it cost to replace this asset.
Okay.
So like let's just say this room costs 100K in theory. Are you buying this room for 200K? Are you buying it for 50K? That's one aspect of things. Or you can do the income approach, which is what we do, which is essentially look at the amount of money that we're making, and then we put a market valuation to that, and that's how you get the value of the property.
So I don't know if I'm going into too deep, but like, how do you value that Portland, I'm trying to know. I'm trying to pause the thing about Portland, the property. I saw you post it on your story, right?
Yeah.
And I think you were there with the guys that are going to the building and all of that, right? And I saw the ocean in the back. So you got an ocean view. So how do you
It's a lagoon view, but yeah.
Lagoon view. It's not an ocean, it's a lagoon. It's a lagoon view. Okay, cool. I thought it was the ocean.
That's all good.
I thought it was the ocean. I thought it was the ocean.
Well, views are a huge part of it, but with hospitality, it's still going to be speculative because you don't actually know what's until you get like those rents and how that's done. But in terms of what we're building for and also the land value that we're purchasing the property for, we just know that we can access it.
Yeah.
If we had to access
Airbnb, both you guys, Airbnb versus hotels. Or Airbnb villas versus hotels.
Well, for the consumer. Personally, for the consumer.
For you guys.
Well, for the consumer.
You guys and the consumers.
I like Airbnbs.
Like Airbnbs?
Yeah, I like
Airbnbs.
Yeah,
Airbnbs?
I like Airbnbs. It's really called like the boutique model, which is just like ownership that's directly doing it. I think that's just really the way.
Do you think people are moving like in this day and age? Like back in the days, I remember not a lot of people were into Airbnbs. But these days, everybody's like, let me book a Airbnb. Do you think that is taken away from the hotels?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now, if you look at like the top performing assets in real estate, period, boutique hospitality is just absolutely kicking ass. Or being on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, which is like workforce housing. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Somebody, Patrice is asking. You're asking this, right? You want to ask?
Sure.
Yeah, she can ask. Give her the mic. Patrice is asking it.
All right. So this question is for Mario. My question is, would you consider permanently forming like contractual agreements with contractors who partner with governments to do big projects, or would you prefer to supply the individualistic market as something for the future for your business, or both?
Both. I mean, trying to make dollars, it makes sense. So, whatever is feasible. And right now I'm doing the latter. I haven't started the contractor through the government as yet. But I mean, if it, as I said, when you put it on paper, if it is financially profitable.
Yeah.
I'm not going tomorrow. Why not?
Yeah. I see both you guys have like so many things that you have to handle on a day-to-day basis. How do you manage your business life and your personal life?
He has a wife. I have a girlfriend that just moved in.
Wow.
And both, and both you guys, just to let you guys know, both of them play tennis. And I have a specific question regarding tennis that I want to ask you guys.
All right. Well, my wife stepped out of the room. Probably a good thing. I am a workaholic.
Yeah.
And anybody that's I'm not going to say anybody that's my wife understood that coming. Right? But you have to find time for your family.
Yeah.
Right? I work, I get up early, I go to the gym, right? Work sometimes all hours at night. I try to slot out days, and communication is key. Because my personal life mainly is with my wife,
Yeah.
right?
Always around each other.
Yeah, man.
Mhm.
I'm my best friend.
Mhm.
So, communicate and find out, what you want to do, and I make sure that I give that priority,
Mhm.
and so on and so forth. And recreation, play tennis, break your hand.
I think we need to set up a tennis match.
Yeah, we need to set up I will need to invite Greg. Greg will play tennis too.
yeah.
You know Gregory? Rich off deals.
Gregory Spencer.
You guys should know Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me 3 weeks and
Just give 3 weeks.
What about you,
Greg.
Caleb?
Repeat the question one last time.
How do you manage your personal and business life? Because the reason why I asked that question is that us as entrepreneurs, I know that we get extremely busy, and sometimes it might be difficult to manage both, right?
Yeah.
So I want to know, how do you manage it? And the next thing is society these days, I realize, is thinking that everybody, like, it's easier to be successful by yourself versus together,
Yeah.
I see a lot of young people say that,
It is way better to be as a team and all that kind of stuff. And like, whether that's partners or people working within your infrastructure and system, but I had no chance in hell I could survive if I didn't have a mountain of support.
Yeah.
I would say that it's multifaceted. So how do I manage it? I'll talk about on the business side. Within the business side, there's a very clear understanding of where I can be the best in the world and where my partner can be the best in the world.
Yeah.
And we have separated to make sure that we're both in positions where we can be our best selves in the business.
Mm-hmm.
I think also
she's a part of the business as well.
Oh no, not my girlfriend. Oh, I say my partner. I'm talking about my real estate partner.
Okay.
Because of the nature of real estate, it's super high stress. But then once you get stabilized, it's no stress.
Mm-hmm.
I just really, pre-kid, I've just dedicated this aspect of my life to just being as large as possible. And now having, my girlfriend that just moved in, and things are going well, blah blah blah.
Yeah, baby Caleb on the way.
It's just a situation where like the home life is way more stable, and you can actually build in that direction. And so by not going out all the time and things of that nature, it's not like I'm missing out on it.
Yeah.
But in terms of balance, I've just tried to integrate them. So now, because I was driving to Portland and I was on my computer doing work and I was stressed. And then I looked up and I was like, wait, I'm in paradise. What am I stressing about?
Yeah.
The integration of like, okay, I'm stressed out. Let me just go swim now in the beach. I'm so grateful for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think just being strategic and just understanding like, hey, it's measuring return on time. My energy may go down as time goes on, but where can I put my energy in today where that's just going to keep adding more benefit over a long period in time? And this is how I think about it.
Yeah. So what are your plans for growth?
So we are going to expand the boutique hospitality business. So we're obviously doing in Jamaica. My partner is French, so we're expanding to France.
Yeah, you know to speak French?
I'm actually learning with my girlfriend. Yeah. No, but don't test me. It's called Duolingo. I can just read.
Yeah.
You learn you practice from Duolingo? Yeah, I'm
7 day
fascinated
streak.
with Japanese. I was learning Japanese from Duolingo.
Okay, cool.
Really
70-day streak though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then in the States, we're gonna start like becoming almost like a hedge fund for real estate positions.
Touch it.
So not necessarily in the markets, but investing in other people and being limited partners in other people's deals. And being a hedge fund from that point.
1% of something better than 100% of nothing.
Yeah, that would be 70% for something. But I'm talking about. No, but all jokes aside.
Mario, what are your plans for growth?
Well, I'm actually expanding AML building supplies currently. Still a huge.
We have a hedge fund man here.
You never know. Maybe one of these days we go public. You never know.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about
the IPO,
Yeah, man. But personally, I like the real estate. Actually, I did my real estate course. I said I was going to go back to school. So I'm fascinated.
Real estate course in terms of like
the salesman course.
Just the salesman course.
Yeah,
have to have a license to sell real estate?
Yes.
Unless
you
you
do?
do like the wholesaling route. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
all right, let's say, because I didn't know that actually. I thought you could just like, say for
I thought I could
instance,
have gotten up and just be
yeah,
like,
say for instance,
like,
I buy properties in my name, fix them up, you know, I buy a 1-bedroom house, I turn it into a 2, 3, 4-bedroom, and I have multiple of them, right? And Chavez wants one, I sell one to Chavez. Monty wants one, Patrice wants one, Ryan wants one. Could I like just go about selling those to them just like that, or
Without a license?
would that be considered doing real estate that needs a
No,
license?
Yeah, you can do
You
that.
can do that. You can do that. You can, but you're a realtor.
So what?
So you're a realtor.
License.
then?
So what realtor?
I did it for the knowledge because
Mhm.
a part of the family business is real estate.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I think you were doing some real estate mentorship as well, based on the knowledge that you have.
I used to do the mentorship, but right now it's just focusing on the implementation.
Implementation, you just okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I mean, I am about helping people, will help people, but
Yeah.
as of right now, I don't have a business.
So about it, guys, do you guys have any advice for individuals that want to come up within your industry, want to come in the industry? Any tips or
It is-
advice?
it
What's
is-
the
it is-
tips
it
and
is-
advice for them?
it's hard.
Sorry.
And no, that's not the advice. it's any entrepreneurial journey is going to be a very taxing one.
Mhm.
And sometimes you can't even find time for yourself. I'm just learning this balance thing. And
Yeah.
it's because I'm married. Because trust me, if I was single, I would I'd probably full of gray hair.
Yeah, 99% work.
Yeah. And I don't think it's for everybody, to be honest with you.
True.
Because you have to be very dedicated,
Mhm.
right? Very committed.
in terms of like what you're focusing on or what you're doing.
Yeah, man. Because
Okay.
I mean, there are times when you want to throw in the towel,
Yeah.
right? But you have to remember. You did an interview with Mr. Peart. You say you have to
Yeah.
remember your why. Yeah, man. You
Mhm.
have to remember, and I
True,
mean,
true.
but for me, I always try to remember. Listen, Mario, just keep a level head. Just remain focused. And remember, you're in this for the long haul.
Mhm.
You've survived all of your bad days.
Yeah.
Right? You have 100% success rate with all of your bad days. So just keep pushing.
Mhm.
And I mean, after a while, for me, it gets easier.
Yeah, it gets easier
Yeah,
with
the more
experience.
Yeah, the more experience it gets easier. Because what I used to goes back to what I was saying about growing.
Yeah.
I mean, the things I used to stress over back then, I mean, it's like it's not even it's like a little pebble. I don't even feel it under my shoe anymore. Right?
Yeah.
And it all comes with growth. So
Yeah.
you have to come in with the mindset that, listen, is this for me? And if you're going to do it, just see it through.
Okay. What about you, Caleb?
I would say really focus on getting there for sure versus
Mhm.
being there quick.
Mhm.
And I think thinking for the long run is really, really important. There's something I was going to really say. I forgot what it is. But I think that's the biggest thing is with social media. Sometimes it's really hard. You feel like it's a race or whatever the case may be. But focusing on just one cemented move at a time will take you further. The biggest thing in anything new, you will move faster if you can get aligned with really smart people and figure out ways to add value to them and incorporate them in what you're doing and making something that's equitable for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Because I may not be the development construction expert, but I do have someone on my team that does that. So then I can just focus on being the best me possible.
Yeah.
And I think having a team spirit and things of that nature will take you the furthest. But I think for someone who's just starting out the gate, find and interview someone who's in the position that you specifically want to be in.
Mhm.
And the thing is, as well as I think actually this would be the most important thing, which is don't allow the naysayers to get you. Because the thing is that sometimes you may have this idea, you share it with someone, they'll be very quick to tell you no, or they'll be very quick to tell you why it wouldn't work.
Mhm.
But then the question is, did they put in the time that you put in to understand that opportunity that warrants the no or the rejection? And a lot of time people just say no, but wait a minute. If you're up at 3 a.m. studying this like hell, You know, you're seeing something that they're not seeing. And a lot of the times you can be more educated than the market, right?
Yeah.
So I think that finding someone that's in the position that you want to be in specifically, that way you can get on the same language as them. Because if, for example, if I'm trying to talk about starting hedge funds and all this other kind of stuff, but then I'm maybe speaking to someone who is in a completely different vertical of business than I am, or whatever the case may be, they may completely write me off. But if I'm speaking to people who are in hedge funds, people who are, you know, doing that, we're going to be on that same language, and I'm also going to be able to go get a lot more value out of that relationship.
Yeah. So, we're wrapping up. The thing I wanted to ask, I just said this earlier in the pod. Getting to the point where you know when to ask, like you're networking with you know, a group of people or somebody specific, you know, that is doing extremely well within their industry. How do you get to the point of asking, hey, partner with me on this project or invest with me on this project, give me, for example, 100 mil? How do you get to that point, and like what does it take to get to that point?
So I think there's two different angles of it, because let's, like, right now we're raising for 3 different opportunities. And so a lot of these relationships are, or a lot of these investments that will come in on this opportunity, maybe people that I don't know.
Yeah.
Tightening up the package and conveying the story of my opportunity in a clear way, showing all of my research where, okay, we may have this new relationship and this new whatever the case may be, but for this opportunity here, this is my investor package. And you can read for yourself the opportunity that I'm seeking and how it's backed up from the data, the track record, and all that kind of stuff. So when I go to market for a fundraise, I genuinely believe that I'm bringing some of the best investment opportunities that are available, because I'm staking my reputation and everything on them because I believe in the opportunity that much. But I think as a general rule, outside of a fundraise or just being a person in business or just a resource giving human being, is for anyone that you meet, get on the same tune as them. So what I realized as a communicator is sometimes you can be really smart, but then nobody understands what you're saying.
Yeah.
So then when you're communicating with someone, and whatever the case may be, like, match them where they are and figure out how can you add value to them and grow them and help them in any way possible, just as a general principle in life. And one day it will, you know, you may be in need, but at first, just focus on giving and getting tangible value to someone else before receiving.
Also, in terms of the overseas market and the local market, in terms of approaching investors or fundraising, do you think that, where do you do most of your fundraising? Overseas, right? But do you think that it is as easy or would be as easy to fundraise in Jamaica?
I don't look at it in terms of easy or hard. We're going to really lead a substantial round locally because we want people to be involved in our project. When we have this great opportunity and we can now have people invested in it, well, now they're invested in also seeing us succeed, because when we succeed, they succeed as well because their money is tied with us.
Okay.
So we will be leading around, you know, for apartments. I mean, I actually think, this is actually another thing that's really important to say. In the US specifically, you have so much credit available. So you may find that your average American walking around doesn't actually have a lot of cash.
Yeah, I realize.
Right? At all. And so in markets like Jamaica, Latin America, things of that nature, there may not be a lot of credit, but you also have people with a lot of cash that are looking to invest in these opportunities. So I know one of my friends' fiancés actually rose 300 million, and she rose it almost completely out of South America.
Yeah.
So
was it a new market for her, or?
Yeah, it was a new market for her, and you know, her company is one of the best at what they do in real estate, and so you had people with cash that didn't necessarily have access to those opportunities, and so they had to come offshore to do that. So I think that there is a lot of wealth and a lot of liquidity that's here locally in Jamaica. And I think if you have a great opportunity, I guess we'll see in the next 90 days how easy or hard it is.
Massive, massive, man. Final question. Both of you guys play tennis. how does tennis help with networking? Because I've heard great things about tennis. Like some man will just play tennis to meet the head of the right company, you know?
Yeah.
So how has tennis helped with your networking and your growth and you just being exposed to certain information? Or playing a specific sport. It doesn't have to be tennis.
Well, let us stick with tennis because the people that, for me at least, the people that you meet on the basketball court, I play basketball. People that you meet on the basketball court are different.
From tennis court.
You find a lot of mature
People.
men,
Yeah.
male
Playing
and
tennis.
female, and a lot of them are business owners.
Playing.
So you know, and I mean, you know, sports brings people together.
Yeah.
Find yourself talking, and oh, you own a hardware, and oh, you own this and you own that, and
Yeah.
then right off of the bat, I've linked up with a couple of people
Through tennis. What
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think with sports in general,
Mhm.
what are you doing? You're having fun,
Yeah.
right? And I think when you're able to connect with someone, okay, well, I actually like this person outside of this business deal. For me, it's like more golf than
Oh, yeah.
tennis. Tennis is one-on-one, but golf
Yeah.
would be like a card of people. But why is golf important? Well, it's because you're spending 18 holes, like 4 hours.
Just talking.
Just talking and catching up and building rapport and whatever the case may be and getting to know someone. And so it allows you to build and get to know someone beyond just a need. Because the thing is that when you're speaking with someone and you're just always asking for something, people's guards are up. They can just shoot you down just because, you know, they're on tense.
Yeah.
A million people asking you for something.
Yeah.
But if you're connecting with someone in a, because like even with UFC fighting,
Mhm.
I went to go watch the Conor McGregor fight against like Cowboy Cerrone, for example. And the guy who I'm just standing with in line runs a $100 million fund out of Australia. But we're both connecting off of, we're here to see this fight.
Yeah.
You know, so I think connecting with people in their environment outside of the boardroom,
Mhm.
right, is a great way to just bring friendships. And if you, just because of your frequency or who you are, you're also going to meet people in that same frequency.
So you treat everybody that you meet on the same level.
100%. Because you never, I mean,
just like what I said.
yeah, exactly what you said, 150%.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, when you're treating someone who's quote unquote below or whatever the case may be, that's just an asshole. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, for real.
you know what I'm saying?
But what I really meant is like,
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
some people will, you might have a great idea, right? You might be doing amazing things with your company, but then you probably meet this massive figure, like probably Warren Buffett, and it's like everything goes out the door. You start trembling and you start, you know, not being confident, and you start making it seem like, okay, they're the bigger man versus just we're on the same level.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you, yeah.
Well, I actually, early in my career,
Mhm.
I'm not going to call this person out by name, but I had a billionaire
Yeah.
who I really looked up to.
Mhm.
And I just really studied this person and I did everything that I could to
Yeah.
get in contact with this person. And when I got on the call with him, the call did not go well.
Yeah.
And he kind of just wrote me off and
Mhm.
said, go back to school or whatever the case may be. But it's like a couple years later, you know, we have a lot of mutual friends. The
Yeah.
conversation is just different. You know what I'm
Different.
saying?
Mine's
Because-
like,
So, but he treated me a certain type of way
Mhm.
when I was on quote unquote,
yeah.
like
yeah.
in that sphere. And I still don't see.
Did you remind him of that conversation?
I think, you know, at the end of the day, I know. I
Oh,
don't.
okay.
It's not even about the
Yeah.
rubbing in
No, so
situation.
he doesn't. Okay.
Yeah. But it's just like I know within myself, and so you know, but you know, because when you know and you don't react to it,
Yeah,
well, now
yeah.
the ball's in your court. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
And the thing about
Tennis
that,
analogy.
yeah.
the thing about that, even like, for example, like I've met so many people again in my life multiple times that have written me off in the past. And at the end of the day, I'm still here, still doing well, right? So the thing that I would like to let the viewers know is that like other people's opinions are not really, you know, it can't really make a difference unless you make a difference, right? So
Yeah.
you just have to just continue doing what you're doing, stay focused, and just like stay true to whatever you're doing,
Exactly.
you know, whatever
Yeah.
you believe in, right?
No, 100%. And also being able to, because a lot of that can also fuel you
Yeah,
in a positive way.
yeah.
But
Just
then,
make it-
but being able to also release it, you know,
Yeah.
and over time, and having mercy when the time comes.
yeah. Like
Right.
the
Yeah.
biggest flex is knowing and then be like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
it's all
ma-
good.
that's
Treat 'em
maturity.
we'll meet back, you know?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
maturity as well. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But Guys, y'all know the vibe. That was the Billionaire Podcast. We're here with Caleb. We're gonna do another one. I want to come down to Portland and we'll just, I've been supposed to go to Portland.
Cool.
Right? And Mario, thanks for being on the pod. I
Thanks for
learned a
having
lot
me.
from you guys today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's massive. Social media, we're going to put the links in the bio, but where can the viewers find you guys on socials?
I am Caleb V. Jackson on Instagram. That's really all that I use. It's private profile.
Caleb with a
Not
C.
everyone in. Yeah, Caleb with a C.
Yeah.
And Lion Development. Hit me up anytime.
Well, on social media, I am Mario the Boss.
Mario the Boss.
That's the with a A, not a E.
Yeah.
And just Google AML building supplies. It will lead you to a website. You can send an email. We answer it.
Caleb, you have a
With a
website
quick
as
list.
well?
We have multiple websites. Just Caleb V. Jackson. That's just
The man has a hedge fund, guys.
No.
Multiple sites. All right, guys. So thanks for being on the pod.
Thank you.
Vibe.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Mario, I can't do that without one. So let's
Nice. Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.